Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So we are back here at Keek on the Mic with another video and another interesting topic that kind of made me go both ways. I was a little bit confused when I kind of heard this report, when I was listening to this podcast, and now I'm kind of conflicted because the report out of Chicago is this: Colin Cowherd hearing new Bears regimen are not sold on Justin Fields. And just by reading that, you guys now understand why I am a little bit conflicted. According to Colin Cowherd, host of the Herd radio program, told insider Mike Silver what he has been hearing from Halas Hall. How about this? The current GM of the Bears did not draft Justin Fields. The current coach of the Bears had no reported fondness of Justin Fields. I have been told they aren't necessarily sold on Justin Fields. I am absolutely mind blown. And the reason why I'm mind blown, because we have heard stuff before saying that the Bears regimen is in fact sold on Justin Fields. They could just be saying that, and that's why I am kind of conflicted. And there is definitely some truth to the statement, and Cowherd is a little bit correct in this statement. Ryan Poles did not draft Justin Fields. He is correct by that. Matt Eberflus didn't really have any reported fondness on Justin Fields. Yes, Matt Eberflus has come out and said that he is all in on Justin Fields, right? Which is why this report kind of confuses me. When I saw it, kind of confused me. I'm kind of conflicted. But beforehand, there was no reported fondness of Justin Fields on behalf of Matt Eberflus. But saying I have been told that they aren't necessarily sold on Justin Fields, to me, I am definitely 50-50. And the reason why I say 50-50, and I'm going to say it again, is because we have also heard Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus come out and say that they are all in on Justin Fields. I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. A lot of Bears fans may say, well, Keek, they're supposed to say that. They have to have some type of faith. And obviously, we've heard them also say that they're not really putting a lot of expectations. They just want to see a little bit of progress, right? So maybe they are just saying that they're all in on Justin Fields just so they can give Justin Fields the confidence he needs to hopefully progress a little bit this season. And it makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of coaches do that all the time. Maybe coaches, GMs, owners, whatever, say what fans want to hear, right? And we will never know what goes on behind closed doors in Halas Hall. We don't know that. But all I know is now that we have one report early on, right? And I've said it here on the podcast as well, that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus are all in on Justin Fields being the quarterback, whatever. And that's true. And now we have Colin Cowherd on his podcast telling Mike Silver that the new regimen are not necessarily sold on Justin Fields. So now I'm kind of 50-50. And there is one side of me saying, yes, I think it's correct, right? I think they are all in on Justin Fields. You kind of have to be, especially in a kind of like a revamping year where you're trying to build a roster around this guy. They're hoping Justin Fields takes the next step so they can continue to build around Justin Fields. So half of me is saying that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus do, in fact, love Justin Fields, and they are all in on him. But the other side of me is thinking, no, maybe Cowherd is right. Maybe they aren't sold on Justin Fields, and you have to look at both sides. You kind of have to be realistic to the fact that you have to kind of look at both sides here, especially now that Colin Cowherd has said that he has necessarily heard inside Halas Hall that the new regimen is not totally sold on Justin Fields. And just like Cowherd mentioned in his podcast, they did not draft Justin Fields once again. And maybe there's no reason for them to be sold on Justin Fields. And we talked a lot about this on the podcast as, once again, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have come forward and said that they don't have a lot of expectations. They're not expecting Justin Fields to make a massive leap because they are slowly trying to build. And we've talked about this recently on the podcast as well, is that Ryan Poles didn't go out and sign these big names. He is signing these 1-year prove-it deals. A bunch of guys that are also trying to prove themselves. A bunch of guys that this may be their last stint in the NFL. So they're fighting for their NFL career. So it's not necessarily a lot of game records, right? So they understand that what they've put around Justin Fields so far may not be the best. And I think that's why there's not on them a lot of expectations for Justin Fields to make a massive leap. They're just trying to see little progressions from Justin Fields. And another thing, Poles and Eberflus saw what happened in his rookie year, right? 10 interceptions, had fumbling issues, had 12 fumbles, sacked 36 times, and even though, yes, the offensive line was terrible, some of those sacks were on Justin Fields, and yes, we all know that Matt Nagy was bad as well. But I'm just trying to list facts of the reasons why Eberflus and Poles don't really need to be all in on Justin Fields. And when you kind of look at that perspective of maybe they're not all in and maybe they're not sold on Justin Fields, is because all they really see is a guy that is very talented and willing to put in the work. And they want to see more of that. I think they want Justin Fields to be the guy. And once again, that's why I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I think they are sold at the moment of Justin Fields being their guy. But I think long-term, they want to see more. They want to see that continuous progress. And obviously, I will be the first one to say that it is on Eberflus, the coaching staff, Ryan Poles to develop Justin Fields, Ryan Poles to continue to add to the roster to help Justin Fields. Because here's the thing, if Justin Fields comes out and is just not good, you can't really blame him because Ryan Poles is still building the roster. You haven't done enough, and maybe this roster comes out and shocks us, right? But you haven't done enough to really help Justin Fields, right? And I know this is going to take time. I'm not sitting here bashing the Chicago Bears roster. I'm cautiously optimistic that these coaches can take these group of guys, and like I said, it looks like an underwhelming group on paper, but I feel confident that this new coaching staff can take this group of guys and hopefully lead them in a positive direction, and Justin Fields does, in fact, take that next step as a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Chicago Bears. But at the moment, we do understand that Ryan Poles hasn't done enough, and I understand that Ryan Poles is not done building this Chicago Bears roster. So if Justin Fields does come out and he kind of is underwhelming, right? It just looks the same as his rookie year, I still probably wouldn't blame Justin Fields because Ryan Poles really hasn't done enough to really help Justin Fields, right? And that's, I know a lot of people may agree with me on that statement. A lot of people may not. I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible as a Bears fan. So Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus want to see more. They want to see Justin Fields progress. And there's really no reason right now for them to really guarantee him as a long-term answer. I think us as Bears fans understand that he has the capability to be the long-term answer. I think we already know that he's going to be the guy for the Chicago Bears. That's the hope for all of us Bears fans. But Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus want to see more. And at the moment, we all understand Justin Fields is a starter, and he will be treated that way moving forward. So I think when they say we are all in on Justin Fields, and this is where I'm trying to tie it all together, especially after hearing what Cowherd had to say, trying to put it all together, I believe when Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus came forward and said we are all in on Justin Fields, they are all in on Justin Fields right now, this season, and maybe even for next season as the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. They're all in right now. I don't know if they're really all in long term. They still need to see if Justin Fields progresses, right? It's not all on him, right? They still have to build the roster around him, right? Give him more weapons to throw to. Complete that offensive line. Make sure that offensive line is shored up, right? Hopefully this coaching staff can develop him and turn him into the stud that we all know that he can be. But it's not all on him. But I think right now they are all in. But long term, it could still very much be up in the air. They just want to see him continuously progress until they do commit to Justin Fields long term, which makes a lot of sense. You don't want to rush into something, right? Maybe he has one good year, right? And then they commit and then he struggles, right? So you want to take your time. You want to see him slowly progress into that player that you know he can be. And if Fields shows that progress, right, and like we're saying, I think Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus will obviously be all in long-term on Justin Fields, and he will remain the guy in 2023 and beyond as they continue to build around Justin Fields. My worry is about this whole thing, especially now that Cowherd kind of brought this to my attention, is if Justin Fields comes out, and like I said, it's not all his fault. I get it. And it would suck if they just blame it all on him. And usually when you are the quarterback and you got drafted that high, you will get a lot of the blame, especially he comes out and let's say he just struggles like bad. It looks like his rookie year, but maybe even worse. And I know a lot of you guys are saying, well, Keek, he's going to learn a whole new offense. I understand that. But at least we can say that this offense is tailored to his skill set. At least we could say that they're going to game plan for Justin Fields' strengths. So there's really no excuse on that end. Yes, he's learning a new offense, but they're catering to his strengths now. So there should be somewhat of a progression and development for Justin Fields this season. So let's say he comes out and just plays terrible. It looks worse than his rookie season, right? I think they give him one more year to figure out. If he comes out and plays bad again, then very much so, Ryan Poles will move on and the Chicago Bears will have a new quarterback probably in 2024, 2025. Let's just say 2025. And obviously, I don't think that's the case. I know that a lot of you guys think also that's not the case. I think we all know the work that Justin Fields is putting in to take his game to the next level. I think obviously with the new coaching staff, I think they're going to do hopefully a very good job catering to Justin Fields' strengths. The offense obviously is catered to him. The guys that they kind of brought in for Justin Fields are hopefully going to help him as well. And I think Justin Fields will in fact develop enough to let Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus know that, yes, Justin Fields is the guy. And I'm going to repeat this till I'm blue in the face. I truly feel that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus already know that Justin Fields can be that guy. They've seen the work ethic. They've seen how hard he's been working this offseason to be great, right? But they just want to see a little bit more until they are fully all in on Justin Fields. So I think after this season, they will see from Justin Fields what they were looking for to be all in on him, hopefully for the long haul. So, like I said, I was 50-50 on this. I was just trying to tie it all together and look at both sides of the spectrum and try to be as realistic as possible as a Bears fan. But let me ask you guys this. How do you guys feel about the comments that Colin Cowherd made on his podcast? Let me know down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it